prayers and thoughts go out to Puerto Rico and St. Croix, the Bahamas, and of course it's understanding that the hurricane will go up to mainland United States, St. Croix. So our thoughts and prayers are with the Bahamas, and of course it's understanding that the hurricane will go up to mainland United States.
When you surveyed from the area,
almost complete devastation in some villages. I mean, first of all, every village in Dominica, every street, every cranny, every person in Dominica was impacted by the hurricane. We have no running water now. We have no electricity and no power. We have very limited now telecommunication services by WhatsApp, mainly. All of the telecommunication services down. Private homes have been damaged, some beyond any form of repair, all flat in their faces. Many of our schools have been destroyed. Our main hospital is with no electricity now. They've been running a very, very difficult operations.
With generators?
No generators. The generator had to be set aside because of the flooding. And we're now doing an assessment of the electricals to see if we can turn it back on. Nurses have been working for the last 96 hours non-stop, trying to provide care to the patients. Communication to many parts of the country is impossible. We will have to access villages by sea and also by helicopter. It has been brutal, and we've never seen such destruction.
Unprecedented, Prime Minister.
Unprecedented. It will take us a very, very long time to get back to this, to our state and so forth. So our main preoccupation now is search and rescue to determine how many are dead, how many are missing, how many we need to rescue. Providing relief to many parts of the country, water and other essential supplies. Because we prepared pretty well for the hurricane. People stockpile the supplies, but most of it got wet and flooded.
Yes.
So it's of no value to anybody. So right. A lot of communities are without drinking water and basic food items. So we're trying today to get those items to them as quickly as possible.
Right, we'll talk more about the relief supplies, Prime Minister, and the relief effort. Let's talk about the death toll. There have been a number of different numbers which have been put forward. Yeah. What is the official count?
We don't have the total count because we have not been to some communities. I have been able to land in some of the communities, and the authorities there provided me with the number of people who have died. So far, we would have buried in excess of 15 people. It is in one village, 13 people missing. In another village, 5 people missing. Another community, 2. And we can say that because the homes are no longer standing. They've been washed by the rivers there. We have not been to many villages, and just going by air, looking at the situation. If there are no fatalities, then it's a miracle. I'm hoping to go there tomorrow morning, if not this evening. Especially in the Canada territory, where the indigenous people reside, the east coast of the country. It would be a total miracle if there are no fatalities in those villages.
So 15 persons have so far been buried,
yeah.
15. Yeah. Talk to me about the villages, Prime Minister, where these deaths have occurred.
You're talking about Point Michel, in Grand Bay, houses collapsing on people. In a place called Goto Village in Jubla. In Marigot, there was 1 death there. In Dalis, a community called Dalis in the east, in the extreme east. We had some deaths in a community called Dodan, close to Portsmouth in the north. Jubla. As a matter of fact, when I visited Jubla yesterday, they were just having the burial service. For the deceased person. This is a 71-year-old lady. People have buried the dead because of the health concern there. So the residents have taken their responsibility to bury the people. So all of the people who we know are dead have been buried.
So in addition to these 15, you're saying at least another 16, 17 persons are missing?
That's for the villages we know. And we will have a better assessment by tomorrow when we visit the other communities.
This was brutal, Prime Minister.
Right. It's a miracle too that there were not many more deaths. People had to explain to me where they took shelter during the hurricane. People were just exposed to the elements of the hurricane. Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. People were hiding in the cupboards, you know, cramping themselves in the kitchen cupboards to survive. You know, in my case, for example, I had to put a mattress over my head, 2 police officers to prevent the falling roofs from coming onto us and so on. So there are a number of people who've been really traumatized by this. Little kids are meeting me, you know, and asking me why did Jesus do that, you know? They can't understand this situation.
Talk to me more, Prime Minister, please, about the experience. You touched on it during the storm, during the passage of Hurricane Maria, which made a direct hit. I mean, we were looking at the satellite imagery here with the eye passing directly over Dominica. Your experience, I mean, describe for me when the roof started to go. Tell me about it.
I mean, the speed of the winds, I mean, you were hearing the sounds, and you were hearing things moving around you, things falling. It's dark, very dark, pitch dark, no electricity, so you do not know what's happening. And that was the most traumatizing part of it. Things were happening to you and to your neighbors, and you could not see what was happening. It was pitch dark. And I just knew, once my roof went, what minutes to 9 in the evening, that there was going to be serious destruction in the country, because the roof was pretty sturdy. So from the time daylight appeared and I was able to look at my neighbors, every single person in the area where I live, their homes were impacted. Every single person, with no exception. And in some cases, no matter how well or properly constructed your roofs were, the speed of the wind, the velocity of the wind, the merciless nature of the wind, with rain, you know, was totally devastating. And if your homes were not, if your roofs were not blown off or your homes were not crushed to the ground, you suffered tremendous flooding. So even, for example, myself, when I went down to the basement, all of the windows were smashed. We had to, and the doors, and we had to break the doors, the other doors, so that they do not create missiles and injure us. So we could feel the wind, we could feel the rain, and it started flooding. But luckily, the basement was 2 steps, so one level, another level, so the water was flowing from the higher level to the lower level. Otherwise, the water level would have risen and created. So people had the situation. So they went to the basement, started flooding, and they had to run to the neighbor. So one guy said to me, look, his family moved to a neighbor's home. From the time they got there, as they got there, the roof went. And they had to go to another home. And when they got to the other home, the roof went.
Really?
So people were out, you know, during the high winds, experiencing this hurricane. And as I said, it is just, we have many deaths, but it is just a miracle that we do not have hundreds of deaths in the country.
It's a miracle that there were not hundreds
of deaths. Because when you look at the destruction, and people were in those homes or out in the open, it's just fortunate.
You had to put a mattress over your head? Yeah. Tell me about that.
I mean, I'm the least of the apostles. You know, people who had it more difficult than myself, you know. And my preoccupation then was not necessarily about myself, it was about the other communities I know that are vulnerable. And we had fortunately gotten a lot of people to take the hurricane seriously, because we were on the air constantly pleading and beseeching people, let us take this hurricane seriously. Fortunately for the majority population, they did. So they went into shelters.
Yes.
And the shelters in the vulnerable communities survived because they had concrete roofs at some schools and and public and private buildings. So most of the shelters, or a number of them survived, though there was some flooding and so forth, but they were not exposed to the elements in any severe manner.
Prime Minister, there are many Dominicans living here in Antigua and throughout the region and throughout the world who are watching this broadcast online, who would want to know what in your estimation so far has been the worst affected area?
It's difficult to say. Every country, every part of the country, either 95% or 99% or 85% or 80%, everywhere in Dominica has received a serious beating. Every part. If it was not by the wind, it was by river and river coming to your homes and siltation, submerging your homes. Every part of the country, whether it is the upper middle class, or the middle class, or the working class communities, there were no classes as far as the hurricane is concerned.
Wow. So this now, Prime Minister, is a massive relief effort that will be required. Yeah. Tell me, where are the displaced residents now? At this point, are they still in shelters?
Yeah, some of them are shelters. We're resident people, so the day after hurricane, many people are trying to knock back their roofs and create place. People have the mattresses out in the sun, trying to get them dry, and whatever clothing material you could have secured, they've been trying to go to the rivers and wash them and put them up, or water collected from the rain. So people are on the move, clearing the streets to create vehicular access and to their homes and to public buildings. Many people are in shelters. Some are with neighbors whose homes will have a few homes that will have survived. But there are many who do not know where to sleep at night. Yeah, that situation.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's the most immediate need now, Prime Minister, in terms of the relief effort?
We need a lot of tarpaulins and supplies.
It's a difficult, it's really an extraordinarily difficult moment for Prime Minister Skerrit, who, as he said, has given us the opportunity to share his story with the world. And the Nature Isle has been an extraordinarily resilient country. You would have heard yesterday from Hartley Henry, the Prime Minister's principal advisor, telling ABS how difficult it is, and obviously it has been an extraordinarily difficult moment for the Prime Minister.
Water for the people, food supplies, tarpaulins, some blankets, urgently. Yeah.
Prime Minister, and our viewers on TV and online would understand that we are taking a moment for the Prime Minister to collect himself again, because, as I said, just telling the story is an extraordinarily difficult thing for the Prime Minister. In terms of the countries who have assisted, talk to me about the number of countries. Certainly Antigua and Barbuda.
Well, you know, a lot of the countries have responded in the OECS and CARICOM. Every single country has responded. The French, the British. I'm supposed to speak to Prime Minister Trudeau of Canada at 2 o'clock today. The Moroccan government, the Venezuelan government, the Cubans, Martinique and French Guiana, Guadeloupe. I mean, many countries are pouring in various organizations. Yes. You know, Antigua and Barbuda has been very helpful. The Prime Minister has been providing great assistance. The Prime Minister of St. Lucia, the Prime Minister of Grenada, in their respective roles as OECS and CARICOM chairman. So the world is mobilizing to assist us. We're going to need a lot of helicopter services, yes, to airlift the supplies to the respective communities. So if anybody is listening to me, helicopter services are going to be critical to get the supplies to people in large quantities, so that we can minimize the misery and the suffering, and also the fact that they really do need the water supply. Every village I've been to, they have indicated to me water, and supplies for the babies and infants.
So baby supplies, so water, tarpaulins,
yeah,
baby supplies are in greatest need.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Have some of the relief supplies started to reach some of the most affected persons yet?
We do not today. So we do not from today.
Excellent. And in terms of the areas, Prime Minister, that you will be kind of, making priority? I mean, as you said, all the country was significantly devastated, but in terms of the areas that you're going first with the relief supplies?
The entire east of Dominica, the south, the extreme south, because this area is completely cut off, and the south, it has always been a challenged community. The inner communities, Campbell, Bells, which is in the rainforest area, a very disaster-prone community. Mount Prosper and Loda in the valley. The Canalago territory, where the indigenous people reside. We need to get supplies in there into Good Hope and Petit Soufrière, because those communities are cut off in terms of road traffic. We're going to have a particular challenge in Petit Soufrière because there are no landing pads, so we may have to just drop off the supplies to them. Or we're also trying to get boats into there, but the seas have been rough, so that has compromised our ability to get in there. So the logistics of getting the supplies there is going to be critical.
Yes, yes.
So we have the various international regional teams on island. They have been made part of the emergency operations, and they're assisting in putting logistics in place to get things going. So I authorized and approved the strategy last night, and they're now effecting it today.
Brilliant, brilliant. It's excellent, Prime Minister, that the region has so far rallied to Dominica's support, and Prime Minister Gaston Brown here in Antigua and Barbuda has given his full commitment that the Antigua and Barbuda, the government and the people here will give you our full support.
Sure. I wasn't actually in touch with Prime Minister Brown while my roof was going. We still had cell connection.
Okay.
So I was, in fact, telling him what was happening while it was happening.
Yes.
But the world, everybody has been very supportive. We're very appreciative of that. Dominica is going to need all of the help the world can offer. As small as it is, or as large as it is, we'll welcome the help for the people.
Brilliant. And certainly, the Prime Minister, the world has responded. In times like these, when the worst of nature has reared its head, the best of humanity has also balanced out. Talk to me, Prime Minister, about the impact that this would have had on the recovery after Tropical Storm Erica in 2015, because the country was essentially just still in the recovery phase following Erica. So how far has this put you back now?
Put us back quite a bit, because we still have Erica to deal with. And on top of Erica, we have Hurricane Maria. With Erica, we had to relocate several villages. We have built many homes to replace them. We were doing a major housing project with 341 homes with all of the infrastructure, health clinics, and all of the amenities. And with Hurricane Maria, we also have to take critical decisions in relocating many communities in Dominica. So there'll be quite a number of villages that will have to be abandoned and have the people completely relocated. Homes will have to be built for them, and try to restore their lives and their livelihoods as quickly as possible.
Yes. Prime Minister, a lot of residents of Dominica who are living here, for example, in Antigua and Barbuda, the rest of the region, they're very desperate to reach their relatives, want to know the welfare of their relatives. What is being put in place, given that communication has taken a major blow? What is going to be put in place in the short term to try to boost the communication services there?
Well, we have Digicel has flown in people. They came in yesterday to assist with restoring. Also, Flow has been working to extend the coverage. We're hoping that we can get some internet service moving so we can have a point of contact. There are no landlines functioning in the country, so that's a challenge. We have very limited cell coverage, mainly in the city. We go a few miles off. So both telecommunications providers are working feverishly to restore us, as much as possible of the telecommunication services. And we will be setting up our missions in London and New York and Washington to assist with providing information to citizens out of the region who are seeking information about their relatives and friends. My advice to many of the citizens who have concern is that we need to manage our anxiety. So always try to think that they're alive rather than they're dead. And many people have WhatsApped me and I have been able to tell them, okay, well, I met your sister, I met your mom, she said she's fine and so forth.
Very good.
So once you tell me the name, and when I get in there, I'll ask about the person and I'll see whether the person is fine and so forth.
Very good.
So we are in touch with people, and in terms of fatalities, I would advise them to remain calm and think on the positive side with regards to that.
Excellent, excellent. And you've been able to try to ease some of the concerns, Prime Minister. That's communication services. What about water and electricity?
Yeah, the water company is, we're hoping that we can turn on, because what we did before the hurricane was to shut off a lot of the water systems to secure that which is the water in the tanks. So we have water in the tanks that we're seeking. We're now checking to see the water connections. So if the connections are fine from the storage facilities to the connecting pipes, then we can turn on the water supply for the city and the greater Roseau area. That will cover about a quarter of the country in terms of the supply of water for the Roseau area, Castle Comfort and Mount Daniel and Wallhouse and so forth, yes, and the entire city. So they were doing that yesterday and today. I mean, I went to my own village yesterday, and the villagers themselves were seeking to reconnect the water. There were pipes broken, and they went up to the mountains, reconnecting the pipes to restore water. So even in the absence of very robust state apparatus or something, people are getting
community spirit is kicking in.
People are moving and so on.
And helping themselves.
That's right.
Yes. So I'm sure you're very heartened by that, because as we said, worst of nature met by the best of humanity.
Yeah, I mean, we meet people in the streets and you tell them, look, get going, you know, just put the galvanized on the side of the road, the boards, and we'll take them later on. Let us create access and so forth, you know, and focus on making life better for all of us. You know, if we're engaging ourselves in things that are not the right things, then it'll make it much more difficult for all of us and so on.
Yes.
But there's a growing sense, and I think once most of us would have known that our relatives are fine, then we get into the groove of really helping the communities and so on.
Yes. And Prime Minister, in terms of the message, you touched on it a while ago, but the message to Dominicans who obviously are naturally resilient, so helping themselves and so on, and picking themselves up from this disaster. What would you say to your citizens at this point?
It's going to be a very long and difficult journey. But I am confident that if we remain united as a people, we can bounce back. It will take us some time. As for myself, I am completely committed to the country and doing what I can to assist with the raising the necessary financing and making contact. I had originally no intention of going to the United Nations, but I have decided to go, so I'll be traveling to New York tomorrow to address the United Nations General Assembly, to speak to the international community, to have meetings with the UN Secretary General, to outline Dominica's situation and how we believe the international community could assist us. So we will not leave any stone unturned. We all have to play our part as Dominicans, irrespective of who we are. There cannot be no differences whatsoever. We have all been impacted, and we can only make life better for ourselves if we work together.
What do you think this disaster, Prime Minister, has taught the world? If the world were to learn a lesson from what has happened in Dominica, what do you think that lesson would be?
Well, unfortunately, you know, we have to wait for Irma and Maria to let the world understand what we've been saying to them for a long time, that we're very vulnerable. We're exposed to the ravages of climate change, and we need access to resources to build more resilient societies and countries. We have been playing our part, but the extent of the resources required to put in the mitigation systems is beyond us. If you look at a country like Antigua and Barbuda, it is very difficult for it to raise money in the international community because of its per capita and its GDP.
Yes.
You know, which is unfortunate that you're being punished for making progress. And so, like ourselves, you know, the government of Antigua has a huge task if its efforts to rebuild Barbuda. So we're hoping that we can, and the intention was to also join forces, you know, given Antigua a firm commitment to travel with Antigua, to speak to the international community of the need that Barbuda has in resettling the people. I will continue to join. We will certainly be even stronger with our bonds of commitment to going out there and to speaking on behalf of each other and the region for the resources that we need to rebuild our countries. And I am very comforted by the fact that there is a greater sense of unity among the leadership in the Caribbean, unity in purpose. And I think with that unity and that commitment, I'm very comforted. The prospects could be much better.
Yes, and by the way, Prime Minister, this morning at the post-cabinet media briefing, the government of Antigua and Barbuda indicated that it would be making a $300,000 donation to the relief effort in Dominica.
Yeah, thank you very much to Antigua and Barbuda. I mean, I know you have your own challenges. We do not expect that level of assistance because of your privileged challenges, but it speaks to the profoundness of the bonds of friendship. I would say not only friendship, but family, which exists between Antigua and Dominica.
Yes.
We've had a very long tradition of family ties and solidarity, and the Prime Minister Gaston Brown has been providing that level of leadership.
Brilliant. A penultimate question, Prime Minister, because I know that you're an extraordinarily busy man. I mean, you still have more villages to look at. You're going back to Dominica later today, right?
Yes.
And you have more areas to survey the damage there. And frighteningly, dreadfully, there might be more deaths that you are going to come upon. What would be your message to Dominicans abroad or watching this broadcast here in Antigua, Barbuda, the rest of the Caribbean, the rest of the world? What would you say to them?
I think we have to join forces to do what we can to mobilize support to the family and friends back in Dominica. As I said, it's going to require the support of every single one of us, individuals, countries, institutions, organizations. But I believe the Dominica diaspora has a very important role to play in mobilizing material and other resources to help the country. If there ever has been a time when Dominica needs its people the most, it is now. You know, and I think there is a commitment on the part of the Dominican diaspora to mobilize. They did so very, very well after Erica, and I see them even quadrupling their efforts to assist the homeland.
Yes. Prime Minister, this broadcast is being followed by millions around the region, in Latin America, in North America, all over the world. What would you say to persons here on this Thursday, how they can assist immediately Dominica?
Well, we have a list of a number of things, a number of supplies, and we will give you a copy so you can post it also.
Yes.
But I've been provided for a list, as I said, with food, water, roofing materials, lumber, plywood, windows, doors, nails, communication equipment, tarps and plastic sheeting, hygiene kits and comfort kits, medical supplies, baby supplies, including formula, baby food, wipes, diapers, adult pampers, solar lanterns, generators from 5 kVA to 10 kVA or even beyond that, collapsible water containers, the 1 gallon, so that we can pass into the communities, yes. Flashlights, batteries, portable stoves, mattresses, cots, energy biscuits, water purification kits and tablets. So the wide range of things that we can provide. If we get the building material, people are prepared to hit the road running, to recover their homes and to have less people homeless in the country.
Yes. Prime Minister, I know that the world has heard, the world has responded, and the world will continue to respond. And I am absolutely confident that your country will rise stronger like the phoenix from the ashes.
Sure. just to tell you how serious the situation is, and I joke with my people.
Yes.
When they meet me on the streets and they say, Prime Minister, my house is gone, I'm homeless. I said to you, darling, I am also homeless as the Prime Minister of the country.
Yes.
So it is, you know, I really thank all of you and thank the world. We look forward to your continued solidarity. I am here to speak on behalf of the 72,000 people who call Dominica their home permanently, to say to you that every one of us needs you now, and in whatever way you can.
Yes, the hospital, Prime Minister, I have to mention this, no electricity there, no generator.
No.
Is that your biggest immediate concern?
Yeah, because we've had to isolate the generator for fear of anybody getting injured or fatality. Say. But the hospital, we run in the hospital now worse than in the military, in a war zone. We're running really an archaic system. Everything has to be manual. We cannot, the dialysis system machines are down because of the roofs blown off and no electricity. Any patient with who need critical care, we have to airlift the person because the ICU has been completely destroyed by the hurricane. So that's one of our major concerns there, and if we can get help for this, the Martinican authorities are indicated are prepared to assist us in airlifting some of the patients to Martinique. Any other country who can assist with that would certainly be helpful, because we have quite a number of patients who require dialysis treatment, and some of them, the last treatment they got was on Monday before the hurricane, because what we tried to do was to provide them with as much, you know, before the hurricane, yes, so that
it would last them during the time.
Yeah, right. But it's been some days now, and they have not dialyzed. I mean, one patient who has to receive dialysis every day, dialysis treatment every day, he walked from Portsmouth in the north to Roosevelt.
That's
over 21 miles.
Wow.
You know, and I met him at the hospital, and he says, look, I came from Portsmouth because I'm desperately in need of help. There's one patient in Jubla. The family told me that if he doesn't get airlifted, he will expire. Wow. So in terms of these critical patients, it is absolutely urgent that we get them out.
Especially, that's why you need helicopter services.
That's right.
All the helicopters that are available.
That's right.
Prime Minister, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And I know that the world will rally to the cause of helping Dominica to rise again.
Sure. Thank you. I am very optimistic on that.
This has been a special ABS television, radio, and ABS online presentation. You would have heard the very, very visceral reaction, the moving reaction of Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of Dominica, the Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit, after having seen for himself the devastation, or at least part of it, that has been wrought on his country by this monstrous menace called Maria. He has seen it and is asking for the world's assistance to ensure that Dominica will rise again. He's already said that the spirit of his people is strong, and the community spirit has already started to show in relation to Dominicans who are trying to help themselves, restore their own water supplies and so on. Obviously, therefore, they will need any help they can get. We know that the best of humanity will arise when the worst of nature has shown itself. And Maria was for Dominica the worst of nature. Thank you so much for watching on TV and online. Thank you so much for listening on radio, wherever in the world you are. But of course, we leave you with this note that Dominica needs you at this point. I'm Garfield Burford. Good afternoon.
You are in tune with the nation's stations, ABS